the light side of the paranormal. I'm Alice, and today we're going to be diving into the history behind the jack-o'-lantern. I've always been a huge fan of carving pumpkins and eating the pumpkin seeds and the whole process of creating a jack-o'-lantern. So this story and reading up on this for you guys was really special to my heart, and I hope that you guys really enjoy it. So pumpkin carving was actually brought to America in the 1800s by the Irish. I found this super interesting. For some reason, I didn't picture Irish people starting pumpkin carving. I'm not really sure who I was picturing, but it was still really surprising for me. So where it all started in Ireland, they didn't actually have pumpkins there. So they would use turnips because they had all kinds of turnips in Ireland. So it was actually ancient Celtic cultures that started carving turnips on All Hallows Eve. So it really goes super far back. So once they carved their turnips, they would place an ember, a glowing ember inside to give it that light up feel, which now we will use candles, and sometimes not even actual candles, we'll just use electric candles, but they would actually do an ember, so I just find that really cool. But the jack-o'-lanterns that they were originally making out of these turnips didn't have faces at all. They would basically just cut the top off, hollow that out, and then put the ember inside, so it would be literally a lantern. Some people would even tie twine to it and different methods of carrying it as a lantern. Sorry, little interruption here. If you hear stomping around and wrestling around, my noisiest dog is in the same room as me right now, and she's just living her best life. So sorry if there's any interference in the background. So these lanterns that they were making were said to ward off evil entities. And then the tale of Stingy Jack came to light, hence the name Jack-o'-lantern, Jack of Lantern or Man of Lantern. So if you've never heard of Stingy Jack before, I'm going to tell you the original story from their culture and how they ended up naming the jack-o'-lantern. There was a man known as Jack, or they often called him Stingy Jack, and he was known throughout the land as a manipulator, a deceiver, and an otherwise drag of society. On a fateful night, Satan overheard the tale of Jack's evil deeds and silver tongue. The devil went to find him for himself to see if he would live up to his vile reputation. He found Jack drunk and wandering through the countryside at night when he came upon a body on the cobblestone path. The body, with an eerie grimace on its face, turned out to be Satan himself. Jack realized somberly that this was his end and Satan had finally come to claim his malevolent soul. So Jack made a late request. He asked Satan to let him drink ale before he departed to Hades. Finding no reason not to provide him with what he asked, Satan took Jack to a pub, and supplied him with many alcoholic beverages. Then Jack asked Satan to pay the tab on the ale, much to Satan's surprise. Can you imagine the nerve of this Jack fellow? Jack convinced Satan to transform into a silver coin to pay the tab. Jack stuck the now Satan as a coin in his pocket, and in his pocket was also a crucifix. The crucifix kept Satan from escaping his form as a coin. This coerced Satan to agree to Jack's demand. In exchange for Satan's freedom, he had to spare Jack's soul for 10 more years. 10 years later to the date, he naturally found himself once again in Satan's presence. Naturally. Jack happened upon Satan in the same setting as before, and he seemingly accepted it was his time. Jack asked if he could have one apple to feed his starving belly, and Satan agreed. And Jack somehow once again tricked Satan into never taking his soul to Hades. But once Jack died, he quickly figured out that he was not allowed into heaven either. He went down to the gates of hell and begged them to let him in. But Satan swore not to take his soul. To warn others of the consequences to tricking Satan in this way, Satan sent the lost soul of Jack on his way with a glowing ember to light his way through the darkness. From that day on until eternity's end, Jack is doomed to roam the world between the planes of heaven and hell with only an ember inside a hollowed out turnip to guide his way. So that is just one example of the story, but I actually found many different versions of this. So on All Hallows Eve, after the legend had circulated, people started placing a hollowed out turnip with a glowing ember on their front porch or at the end of their property as a almost like peace offering to Jack or to other lost souls that are roaming the streets when the veil is the thinnest. So it's kind of like, here's a light, I know you're lost, please take this and leave me alone and let me be. Outside of Ireland, but not too far, England did the same thing with beets because beets were more accessible to them. Now, I had looked up the turnip jack-o'-lanterns and they sure are terrifying, but I couldn't seem to find any photos of the beets jack-o'-lanterns, and I feel like that would be even more terrifying because they could look bloody and stuff from the beets. So if you have a photo of a beet jack-o'-lantern, please email us. The link to our email is in the description. We really want to see these beets jack-o'-lanterns. So another example of the jack-o'-lantern meaning is night watchman with a lantern. So it's said that lost souls or individuals that are passing through planes, you can see like glowing little kind of like orbs, and it's said that that's their lantern that they're carrying. More specifically, they would refer to these lights drifting over bogs and swamps and marshes. So just, can you picture that? Like the fog rolls in and it's all like damp and yucky because it's a swamp, and then there's these floating lights that are these lanterns of the lost souls. I just find that so cool. Other names referring to jack-o'-lanterns are, and I will read them because it's mostly nothing that I've ever heard before: hinky punks, hobby lanterns, corpse candles, ooh, I like that one, fairy lights, will-o'-wisps, and fool's fires. So I don't know about you guys, but I learned a lot from all of this research, and I feel like it connected a lot of dots for me. Oh, what I should mention is that when the Irish came to America in the 1800s, they found pumpkins and they realized, well, these are just a lot easier to carve than the turnips that we've been using. And that's how actually they started carving pumpkins. But for a very long time, it's actually more of an American thing to carve pumpkins themselves. For a very long time, it was just other found fruits and vegetables, I guess. Beets and turnips. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Give us a like if you learned something about jack-o'-lanterns that you didn't know. Comment down below if you have any stories to do with jack-o'-lanterns, or if you have any other questions for us regarding jack-o'-lanterns. Subscribe to our channel if you like our content and if you like things that are strange and magical and unusual like all of us and probably all of you. And always remember to live your life with love and light. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye!